If we're going to talk about matches that had controversial decisions at CJI 2024, then we have to talk about Adam Bradley versus Pat Downey. Guys, this is Sean with PDMA, and today we're going to be looking at possibly the most controversial match of the whole entire CJI 2024 event. Now, I know what you're thinking. Maybe there was a match that you found a little bit more controversial, but honestly, now that we're a couple weeks past this event, this one I still hear coming up, be it in Reddit or really any jiu-jitsu forum or even in my own YouTube comments. This one keeps coming up. So we're going to take a look at it, and we're going to look at it like we always do. We're going to have the rules in front of us. I'm going to put the rules up on the screen so you guys can clearly read the official rules as we go over them. And we're going to look at some of the things that, the judges got right, and maybe some places where some of the judges got some stuff wrong. A couple quick notes before we get started. This is a CJI match, and if you've watched my previous CJI match breakdowns, I do not use clips from CJI. That is because all of the money from the views from the official channels for these CJI matches either goes to charity or it goes directly to the athletes, and I am not trying to take money out of either of those parties' pockets. So the full match will be linked below. I believe I'm going to have to actually link the entire CJI day one, but it's broken up into chapters. You can find this match. If you haven't watched it, you can go watch it. If you haven't seen it in a while and you want to rewatch it to refresh your memory, you can go rewatch it there. And lastly, before we get started, if at any point during this video you think, hey, this guy sounds like he's saying he could do a better job than these athletes or he could do a better job than these judges, I'm not. I don't think that at all. There's a 0% chance I could have done better than any of the competitors, and there's a 0% chance I could have done better than any of the judges. I am just a guy who is reviewing this match on YouTube. I have had the luxury of being able to go back and watch this match several times. I can stop it when I need to stop it. I can replay it when I need to replay it. So when you hear me disagreeing with some of the calls the judges made, just keep in mind, I understand I have the luxury of watching this weeks past when it happened. These guys had to score it live. Brand new rule set. Very, very difficult thing to do. With that out of the way, let's get into it. All right, round one. So round one kind of starts off exactly like we'd expect, right? They're on the feet for, I think, like 15 seconds before Adam Bradley decides to pull guard, which is more or less what most of us probably expected him to do against a guy like Pat Downey, right? It's, if you know Adam's style, if you know Pat's style, to give himself the max advantage, Adam pulls guard. And, the match was not exactly moving at a super high pace as compared to something maybe like Cade Rutolo versus Andrew Tackett. Adam pulls Pat into his guard, and Pat is generally trying to pass for most of the round, especially most of the beginning part of this round. And this is where a lot of people in the Adam Bradley camp were saying, oh, Pat wasn't actually trying to pass guard, or Pat's guard pass attempts in this first round. Like, I don't know. In my eyes, yeah, it looked like Pat wanted to get out of Adam Bradley's guard, and Adam was playing a closed guard for most of this, so, it's difficult to say. I'm going to give Pat Downey the benefit of the doubt here, that he was trying to actively break open and pass Adam Bradley's guard. However, there wasn't a ton of action in this round, again, especially the first part of this round, and we're looking at this through the lenses of the judges. We have to keep the scoring criteria in mind, and if we look at the scoring criteria, the first listed scoring criteria, it says initiating action. So who's initiating action here? And just a reminder, I'll put this up on the screen now, but initiating action, the highest reward is for initiating effective action. It's important. Attempting takedowns, guard pass, sweeps, submissions, etc. Judges will give the highest reward to the competitor who is aggressive, the one starting the action, and attacking that leads to scrambles. Now that's important, but let's look at something we haven't actually taken a look at on this channel yet. And let's go a little bit down the page on the rule set, and I'll have the rule set linked below. But I'll also have the particular rule I'm talking about pop up on the screen. So we're going to go into the stalling portion of the rule set because that becomes relevant here because both players receive a stalling call here. So if we just look under the heading stalling and passivity will be determined by the referee when one athlete is purposely slowing the pace, aggression, or flow of the match with no apparent strategy to progress, move to a more dominant position, or set up a submission. Now, this is important because this applies to both competitors. It doesn't matter if you're playing guard, it doesn't matter if you're trying to pass. You can be called for stalling, and that's the criteria, and it is up to the referee. In this case, you have Victor Shaolin as the referee. He's a very experienced referee if you're not familiar with him. He's honestly one of the best referees we have in the sport, so if he determines stalling, he's not going to be afraid to call it, and he wasn't. Like I said, he called stalling for both of these guys in this first round. And shortly after doing so, there was some scramble. There was a part where Adam's guard open and Pat was able to try to pass. He wasn't able to be successful and kind of saw more of the same. So the referee did decide to stand them up and reset them. After this reset, Adam pulls guard, and Pat enters a front headlock, kind of short choke situation. It's kind of unclear what he was going for, if it was an anaconda, if he was trying to go for some sort of short choke, but whatever he was going for. He had a submission attempt, and it was, by all means, a legitimate submission attempt. Was Adam Bradley in imminent danger? Probably not, but I would say it was definitely a legitimate submission attempt. And I think largely due to the submission attempt, Pat Downey was awarded the win of this round 10-9 by all three judges, which in my eyes made sense. They were pretty even on initiations. Again, this is where Pat Downey's camp is going to say, no, Adam was setting up fake submissions, and Adam Bradley's camp is going to say, well, Pat wasn't even attempting to pass. But I don't know. To me, they both looked like they were trying, especially in this first round. So I think all things being equal, that submission attempt weighed heavy in the judge's mind, and it was right at the end of the round. And like it or not, sometimes that weighs heavier in the judge's mind. Okay, so round two. Now, round two starts out pretty similar. Adam Bradley decides to pull guard again, which we would expect. Now, Pat Downey does put in some legit guard passing attempts, especially early in the round. There's a situation where, Adam is in a seated guard, and Pat is trying to pass, but I noticed Pat's hips are back pretty far. Might kind of be a smart strategy. He spent a lot of round one in a closed guard, and I just don't think he wanted to get wrapped up in another guard, rightfully so. But he does, and that's what happens. Adam Bradley's able to pull him back into his closed guard. Now, something interesting happens here in the closed guard, and I think this is something a lot of people missed in terms of scoring round two, so I want to go over it. Now, keep in mind, Pat Downey, his background is wrestling, and his background is MMA. And both of those sports require a certain type of grit, a certain type of toughness, a certain type of grinding forward that it's not necessarily that jiu-jitsu doesn't require that, but I think you can kind of get away with other mindsets in jiu-jitsu, other just as valid mindsets, but coming from those two backgrounds, I mean, you have to be able to move forward in both of those sports. So Pat Downey being stuck in Adam Bradley's closed guard for a lot of round one, I think, and again, I've never spoken to Pat Downey before in my life. I don't know any of his team. I don't know anything. But if you ask me, what I think might have happened, or at least might have been a chance that this happened, is that Pat spent a lot of round one in Adam Bradley's closed guard. Maybe decided, you know what, I'm trying to get out of here, but the guy's guard's good. I can't get out of here. So what's another strategy other than just trying to break this guard open and pass? And we saw Pat doing what we've actually see a lot in MMA, and he's trying to wear down Adam Bradley inside of the closed guard. So in MMA, you can obviously do this by strikes, punches, elbows, stuff like that. But in jiu-jitsu, we don't have that luxury. So what we see is Pat really grinding Adam in the position. We see him really kind of putting his weight forward on him. We just see a lot of really, I don't want to say dirty because it's definitely not like any sort of illegal or any sort of, dishonorable move or anything like that. But he's just being really putting the pressure on Adam. And this can be a viable strategy in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? We can open the guard in certain ways, but one way to get a guy to open his guard is really just to make his life in that guard so miserable that he's just like, you know what? Anything's better than this. I am just going to open my guard and whatever position we end up in, but I just don't want to be here anymore. Perfectly legitimate technique. Here's the issue. In Jiu-Jitsu, in an initiation-based scoring system, which CJI is, that right there doesn't score you initiation points, because while you're doing that, the other guy is trying to attack. The other guy is trying to sweep, or in this case, the other guy is trying to attack. The other guy is trying to sweep. The other guy is trying to get moves out, and you are grinding him down. Again, perfectly legitimate technique, but understanding how the rules apply here, you're not really initiating a pass. You're kind of just hoping he will open his guard rather than taking steps to physically open that guard. And this is going to come back to us in round three, because I think Pat Downey makes some adjustments to this strategy. But this is the strategy I saw from Pat Downey. He was trying to grind down Adam Bradley so that Adam would open his guard. Now, it was ultimately basically ineffective, but again, not a bad strategy. And then at the end of this round, we see Adam Bradley, he gets a triangle attempt. He doesn't really have enough time left, but he locks it up. Decent submission attempt. I saw a lot of talk online, people talking about it being an illegitimate submission attempt, or it's a whatever they want to call it. Guys, I there's a lot of talk about people doing stuff for show in these tournaments and oh, he just did that to get in the judges' favor. Look, I know a lot of competitors. When you go for something, yes, you might be going just to show the opponent, like, hey, I'm going to go for this. But, like, trust me, you would want to finish it. So, I don't know. This triangle attempt looked pretty legitimate to me. Had there been 15 more seconds in the round, I think everybody else would have seen that, but there wasn't. So, I think a lot of Adam Bradley's criticism on that submission attempt comes from people, there wasn't a lot of time for him to finish it. So, anyway, this round gets scored by all three judges, 10-9 for Adam Bradley, and that's going to take us into the third round, completely tied up. So round 3 is where it gets interesting in my opinion, and round 3 is, I think this is where a lot of the controversy comes from. So let's talk about the very, very beginning of this round. First couple seconds. Pat Downey understands, okay, I just lost that last round. He might not like it, he might not agree with it, but he's an athlete, he's a competitor, he understands I just lost. And that's a cool thing about CGI actually having open scoring. I actually think that's really cool. Now both competitors know, oh, I need to win this round. So before Adam can pull guard, Pat actually, he does what Pat Downey does. He had this really cool takedown, just very, very, very fundamental wrestling, shoots it and kind of catches Adam in the middle of a guard pull. But what's important here is that this is an initiation-based scoring system. I'm going to keep repeating that. Pat Downey initiated action. Pat Downey went into this last round going, I need to win, and the path to victory in CJI is through initiations, and of course submissions and everything like that. But if you look at the rule set here, if we don't have a submission, that is the most important thing, and Pat Downey initiates. Now in this round, we see a lot more seated guard versus Pat standing, and Adam's in a seated guard. And at one point, we hear Adam's corner yelling out, you have to scoot forward, you have to scoot forward, and they're 100% right. Adam needs to initiate. There's nothing wrong with Adam playing this seated guard position. In fact, Adam Bradley has an amazing guard, and he should play it against a guy like Pat Downey, but you can't sit and wait for Pat to come to you. You have to attack. Now, in this round, we saw Pat, in my opinion, attacking a lot more, and Adam had to be reminded by his corner several times, hey, you need to scoot forward. So then eventually we do end up back where we've spent a lot of this match, in this closed guard position. Adam Bradley has Pat Downey in the closed guard. Now, what's interesting here is we see Pat's strategy change. Like I talked about in round 2, Pat was just trying to grind through Adam's guard, and it didn't work. He had a different strategy in round 1. He had a different strategy in round 2. And in round 3, what was very interesting was, and I don't know if Pat was doing this to play to the judges, but I think if he was doing this to play to the judges, it would have been a very good idea. Pat initiates several attempts at your classic Jiu-Jitsu 101 guard break. He puts his hands in Adam Bradley's armpits. He stands up. He attempts to break it. Posture gets broken. He stands up. He does this again and again. And why is that important? Because it shows he's trying to initiate action. And that is a heavy, heavy scoring criteria. It's not that he has to do a 101 guard break to show that he's initiating action, right? There's so many guard breaks he could do. But by doing this, he's essentially saying to the judges without saying to the judges, look, I'm trying to open this guy's guard. I'm trying everything. This is how everybody in the world knows how to open a closed guard, and I'm doing it, and I'm trying it. Look, this guy's not doing anything. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. We can argue that, whatever. I genuinely think there was a part of Pat Downey that was trying to do that, just trying to tell the judges, hey, look, I'm doing my best over here. And that's not any sort of slight to Pat Downey. You have to play to the rule set, and that's what he was doing. I don't think he was not trying to break open the guard with this technique, but I think, again, he is showing the crowd, he's showing the judges, hey, I'm trying over here. So my point is, in this round, not only is he just showing the judges that he's trying to pass, but he is trying to pass. He's not doing what he did in round 2, where he's just trying to sort of grind down Adam Bradley. He's like, no, I'm doing jiu-jitsu. I'm doing jiu-jitsu guard breaks, and I'm attempting to pass the guard. Now, it's not like Adam Bradley was just sitting there while he was doing this. Adam was attacking. Adam was sweeping. I think Adam knew where he was at. Adam's a very seasoned competitor, and I think Adam understood that this round really has to go my way. So we saw a lot of attacks from Adam Bradley in this bottom guard position. Now, they were shut down pretty quickly by Pat Downey, but Adam was trying different grips, if you noticed, in round 3 than he was trying in rounds 1 and 2, which is good. Again, Adam is a seasoned competitor. The match is going on. This isn't working. You have to adjust your strategy. And even though he didn't really seem to want to adjust that strategy of getting out of closed guard, he was adjusting the attacks he was making. And so ultimately, the final decision came down, and then this round was scored 10-9 for Adam Bradley by 2 of the judges, 10-9 for Pat Downey by 1 of the judges. Adam Bradley was the winner. Now, where do I sit on this? So I agreed with the judges in round 1, I agreed with the judges in round 2, and I agreed with one judge in round 3. I personally think Pat Downey won this match. Pat initiated almost every significant, or as the rules say, effective action in round 3, starting with that takedown. I think that takedown was a big signifier that, hey, I'm not being passive here. I am attempting everything I know how to do. I am initiating actions. Yes, it's the 3rd round, but I'm initiating. And I think he had learned his lesson from round 2 and said, can't let that happen again. Scoring criteria says I have to initiate. I'm going to come out the gate initiating, and that's exactly what he did. I think he continued that for the rest of the match, while Adam did a good job of attacking from the bottom and keeping Pat within his closed guard. I just think that Pat Downey had the significant initiations, which should have won Pat Downey the match. But I am just a guy on YouTube, and that is just my opinion. But my opinion is that Pat Downey won that match. He should have advanced. Was it a robbery? Probably not. If you guys have seen my videos before, I'm pretty hesitant to call things a robbery unless it's like very, very evident that this was the wrong call. 2 judges to 1 in the last round. I don't think that would be considered a robbery, but I do think Pat Downey won this, and Pat Downey would later go on to say that he feels like he was robbed of this match. Okay, I get it. I get what he's saying. So now it's time to hear from you guys. Do you agree with me that Pat Downey won this match, or do you agree with the decision that was made that Adam Bradley did win this match? Either way, I would love to hear from you guys. These type of videos, my favorite part is always the discussion in the comments. You guys come with some facts. I love it. It makes me think about these matches differently, and so I want to hear it from you. Let me know. Also, if you think Pat Downey won, but you don't agree with me on how, let me know that too. Again, I'm always open to hearing what you guys have to say. Maybe you understand the rules better than I do. It's a real possibility. If you guys like this type of match breakdown content, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. That's what lets me know that you guys are enjoying this content and that I should be making more of it. I've got a lot of fun stuff coming up planned. We've got match breakdowns, we've got BJJ history, we've got all topics in modern submission grappling, and in talking to some of the top competitors in the sports. We got a whole bunch of stuff coming. Hit subscribe so you don't miss that. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you next time.